Years ago, your independence wasn't allowed. Only good for cooking and cleaning up the house. Only known for being a housewife wearing gowns. Went from dependent to the most independent girl around. You're disciplined with your diligence, I respect that. Equal rights for the sexes, we all accept that. Random guys with her number, she might expect that. But if he's not on this grind, she might reject that. It takes a boss to date a boss lady. Got what it takes to date a boss, baby. Yeah, brother sexy, that's a boss lady. Know how to carry yourself if you're a boss lady. Do whatever to succeed if you're a boss lady. You gotta practice what you preach if you're a boss lady. You gotta get it on your own if you're a boss lady. You gotta always hold your own if you're a boss lady. Respect you cause you respect yourself. Remain humble and proceed to collect that wealth. Make your own money so you could invest yourself. Don't let nobody hold you down, you could progress yourself. Stay strong through the ups and the downs.
Thank you everyone for tuning in to Boss Lady News. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday, but then again, I hope you have a wonderful week every day. And we've got a great show for you. We're going to be talking with Miss Massachusetts, and she's from 2013. We're also going to be talking with Kadesh, one of your authors here in New England, and our performer is Mr. Cofy. He's going to be doing some of the African drums for us. I love any of the performers that reach out to me. Please make sure you do reach out to me. I'd love to highlight you on the show. And as usual, we're going to go ahead and jump into some news right now. First and foremost, we should all be ready, as if we weren't already, in finding out that Miss Hillary Clinton has decided to make her run for presidency public. All of the ambiance and all of the vagueness, we've all known that she's been interested in running for the presidency once again, and now it's official. One of the first stops she'll be making, of course, is to those early voter states. Yes, Iowa is her first stop. And coincidentally, did you guys know that Iowa just got hit with a tornado? I don't know what that's about. I had nothing to do with it. But in reference to voting, you guys know I am an advocate for voting. Please make sure you know about who your candidates are, number one. Also, make sure that you are registered to vote. Don't wait until the last minute, because you actually cannot vote. You can't register to vote 2 weeks prior to the voting date. Make sure that you're registered to vote, and make sure you get out there and vote for every position, not just the presidency, not just the vice president, not just your mayor, not just your governor. You also need to make sure that your elected officials, you know who they are, including the treasurer. Yes, the person that deals with your state and city money. Make sure you know who those people are. I also want to discuss the fact that I received the phone call, which technically I'm not supposed to take, in reference to the Boston Olympics. We don't know if we're going to be having the Olympics. However, they do want to have the Olympics here in Boston. But I'd like your feedback on it. So please go onto Boss Lady News Facebook page. You're going to see this. And let me know what you think. You have to consider the traffic, the construction, the congestion, and the displacement of housing. A lot of people are going to be asked to leave from their homes, and so that they can actually build pieces for the Olympics. But they're saying that it'll bring in jobs for the community. It will also bring in legacy buildings, which means they'll be making some buildings that will be able to be left within the community that the community should be able to utilize, and it's revitalization for the community. Those are some of the pros and cons. I'd really love your feedback on the Olympics coming here to Boston. I want to make sure that we also do know what's going on overseas. Unfortunately, and our prayers go out to all of the friends and family of those Kenyan students that were massacred, and it was for religious purposes. My personal feelings in reference to it are, you had two different religious groups that were going to school together. And I don't care what religion you might be, I think the point is that we be good to each other. So that was very unfortunate what happened. And about 140 plus students were killed. They were separated and then they were killed. So our hearts and our condolences go out to those families. Make sure you know what's going on, not just domestically, not just in your city, not just in your home, but know what's going on overseas because those things can affect you. We're going to cut to a brief PSA, and when we come back, you guys will get a chance to meet Miss Janelle Woods McNeish.
My new mom and I have a lot in common.
The great outside.
We both love the outdoors.
So shiny.
That's not a flower. We both love geology.
Oh, look. An igneous one.
That's not a rock. And she knows a lot about wildlife.
A labradoodle.
That's not a dog. Hanging out has been kind of fun.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Thank you for staying tuned to Boss Lady News. Feel free to contact me via email, bossLadyNews@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and meet your 2013 Miss Massachusetts USA Universal, Janelle Woods McNeish. Why don't you come on out here? Woo, you're so beautiful. Oh my God.
How are you?
How are you? Please have a seat. I am just recently really finding out so much about the pageant world and the pageant life. First and foremost, are you originally from Boston?
I'm actually not. I'm a Cali Texan. I was born in Southern California and raised in Texas, and I moved to Boston like a lot of transplants do for school.
Yeah.
And my whole idea was I'm going to be here for 2 years and get in and out, and that didn't happen. And now I'm a Bostonian, and I'm going to be here for a long, long time.
That's all right. Boston, woohoo. So the transition of moving, especially for school, you know, people are super excited and, you know, they're just ready to go when they're ready to go. What made you actually make the decision to come to school here in Boston?
It was totally different than anything I've ever experienced. The weather, the people, but this is an education mecca, so there are some amazing schools here. So I said I was going to try it out for 2 years. The thing that made me stay was actually the people.
Okay.
And Boston can be a very cold, secluded city, but once you get a chance to really know people and the community and the networks that exist here, you can't help but want to stay and love it. So it took me about 2 years to get into that network and to meet some amazing people, but Boston is home and heart for me now.
Yay! And we're glad to have you here. You decided to run for Miss Massachusetts.
Yes.
Was that the beginning, or did you run for other pageants also?
So unlike a lot of pageant girls, I haven't been doing pageants for long. I didn't start when I was younger or even a teen. I waited till I was in my mid-20s to start competing.
Okay.
And fell in love with it. It's one of those things where you either love it or hate it, and I love it. And decided that I wanted to do it post-kids, post-married life, because for me, I learned so much about myself, being a mother, being a wife. I think I'm a much better person. And so it was a great way for me to continue to do something that I love, but also celebrate the next chapter of my life as a woman.
Yes. And it's such a battle, I feel like. You know, I've seen people who are running for the pageants, and I've noticed that there's a friendship and bond that's made, but at the same time, it's like, this is still a competition.
It is. And for me, I think I love the best of it because, one, I've met some of my best friends in pageants. That's like the most cliche things you can ever hear. But it's true. There's some pretty amazing women who compete in pageants and who decide to do this. But pageants are a sport, and that feeds my competitive side as well. So I think there's nothing wrong with competing against yourself. It challenges me in ways that I never thought I'd be challenged. So I'm doing a lot of public speaking, which is a life lesson and a life skill.
Yes.
I'm in the best shape I've ever been because I'm really focused on my health and what I'm eating and being in the gym. So it's both feeds my competition from a very primal standpoint, but it also really enhances me as a person. And so from that standpoint, I think competition, when done in a healthy way and looking at it from an inward standpoint as opposed to an outward standpoint, I think it's okay. I think it's
Yeah.
good.
Okay. And it's good to kind of hear that from you because, you know, like you said, it's kind of cliche,
No,
but
it
you've
is.
got the parents, the pageant parents,
Yes.
and you've got the pageant, you know, bickering and fighting.
Oh my gosh, it's true. It is. With everything, there's the bittersweet. There's the good and the bad. But I think being in the married division, I have met amazing women, and part of that friendship and what you learn is that the next day I'm still going to go home and clean up my house, and I'm still going to go home and be mommy and change diapers. So the reality of life is still there, and so when you have these other women who have very similar experiences, it kind of humbles you, and so some of that competition is, I don't think, as intense in this category.
And from a young lady to now, so before even school, coming here for school, was this something that you thought you'd kind of get involved in? Like, were you like, one day I want to be?
It's funny. I think I did. And at that time, quite frankly, there weren't a lot of pageant queens that looked like me. That has changed dramatically. And so I applaud the pageant system for really having a lot of diverse women who really represent what our great nation looks like.
Yeah.
So growing up, I really didn't say that I wanted to be Miss America or Miss USA, but having done it once and now seeing how much I've been able to impact others, how much I've been impacted by it, I think it's just a great thing for all young girls to be a part of.
And as a young lady, not thinking about, you know, becoming a pageant queen, there's a lot of other young ladies out there. What pushed you to even stay focused on school?
Yeah. For me, school was the it. I'm a first generation student, so there was nothing else that I heard in my household other than you're gonna go to college. It's a lot of pressure with that, and there's a lot of unknown. So that was always instilled in me, and I'm living proof that you can be the first and still succeed and do amazing things, and the power of having an education. So that for me was always first and foremost. What pageants did and what I've been able to do with pageants is the giving back piece, which I think is so critical regardless of if you're in pageants or not. We all are blessed and stand on so many shoulders, and for me it's important that I teach and instill in my actions with my kids and others the power of giving back in whatever capacity that may be.
Yes.
And so I do it in a lot of ways through the pageant and through my title, but even if you're not a beauty queen, I think every young woman is a beauty queen, but even if you're not, I think it's important for us to always have that service mentality and to find some capacity in which you can give back to your community.
Yes. Now, you mentioned very quickly, because you are Mrs.
Yes.
Massachusetts.
Yes.
And Mrs. Massachusetts Universal, USA Universal.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, there's a Mrs. division.
There is.
I swear to you, I am learning
Yeah.
something new about this pageant world every time I speak with someone who's already in it. What is besides being married, what's the difference?
That's the biggest difference, is that you're a married woman. I think that you have to be at least 21 years old. So it does bring women from, I've competed with women who are in their late 50s to women who are in their early 20s. So it's a wide gamut in terms of experience, but we all share this commonality around being married. Some of us have families, some of us don't. So it's a great mixture of women, but we all are all married.
All married.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself, we're going to cut to a break right after this, but do you ever find yourself maybe being a little, catty with the married ladies as opposed to the misses that are not?
No, I have to be honest, I find a lot more in common.
Okay.
Because again, we all have duties, motherly duties, and we're all being pulled in so many different ways. I feel like my catchphrase is that we all wear many crowns. So one day I might wear a pageant crown, the next day I might wear the wife crown and the mother crown. And so from that standpoint, I think that there's more in common with these women, even though we come from very different backgrounds. So I find that refreshing and not at all catty.
Nice. Okay, we're going to cut to a brief PSA. And when we come back, you guys, we're talking with Janelle Woods McNeish. We'll be right back.
There's no place like home.
Getting home safely is just a click away. But making sure your child is in the right seat is just one of the steps down the road to safer travels.
I don't know how it works.
Find the right seat for your little one's age and size.
We've done what you told us.
There's no better way to get home safely. Know for sure that your child is in the right seat. Get all the facts at safercar.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hello, everyone. If you haven't been watching, we are now with Miss Massachusetts USA Universal, Miss Janelle Woods McNeish, and we are talking about the pageant life. And you're new, well, not new to Boston, but you are a Bostonian now. And you are a Mrs.
Correct.
Massachusetts. And what I really kind of wanted to get into now, because I know some of the young ladies that do Miss Central Massachusetts, hi, the volunteer work and the community service. What are some of the favorites that you've done, and what kind of keeps you going with that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that us pageant girls don't get enough credit for, is this whole giving back and this commitment to serving and representing our community. For me, my passion and platform that my title is really championing is preventing the sexual exploitation of our girls, which is a very, very hard thing to talk about. It's human trafficking, it's exploiting our young girls, and it is at the core attacking the most vulnerable population that we have, which is our young girls.
Yes.
And it's an amazing plight for me to really be able to champion. I'm working with an organization here locally called My Life, My Choice.
My Life, My Choice.
My Life, My Choice, which they have done phenomenal work, and they have really created a model around this whole looking at our girls from a survivor mentality to really transitioning them to be leaders.
Okay.
And so they incorporate some of the younger ladies who've been part of this life and who've been victims, taking them from victims to survivors to leaders, and they make sure that they're mentors in this program, and they work with law enforcement to help see these young girls as victims, not criminals, and they really focus on legislation around how to criminalize this from the standpoint of the pimps and the users, and it's almost a supply and demand thing. So if there's no demand, there really is no need to have our young girls out there. So it's a local issue, it's a national issue, it's an international issue.
It's a psychological issue,
It's a
too.
huge psychological issue.
Yeah.
And
on both ends.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, some young ladies, they wander off from home, and then they find themselves in a worse position.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably the worst part, because it's the leaving of home and finding yourself having to take care of yourself that really changes these young ladies' lives.
It does, and one of the things that is most fascinating is that this epidemic is not color bound, and each situation is much different. So it's not all low-income families. It's from a lot of affluential families as well that are impacted by this. Our young girls are very susceptible and vulnerable, and so there are people out there that prey on them. And the work that has been done with My Life, My Choice, and others across the country are really focusing on how to make this an issue that people know about, can talk about, because who wants to talk about it, quite frankly? It's not one of those touchy-feely issues, but it is a huge problem. And then from talking about it to really advocating on behalf of our young girls and really making sure that they are in environments where they can grow and be safe. And if they are part and have been subjected to this, how they can really become our survivors and our leaders.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. That's wonderful. And thank you for letting me know about that nonprofit also.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Now, as a mom, as a title holder, as a wife, how do you balance all of these? How do you balance all of your crowns?
It's funny because I get that question a lot. And one of the best advice that I got was actually when I was pregnant and went to a conference around work-life balance. And I was like, I'm going to have this work-life balance. And the first word out the speaker's mouth was, there is no such thing as a work-life balance.
Okay.
And she basically said that you'll have an ebb and flow in your life, and that certain parts of your life will feed your soul and you'll be excited about it, and then there'll be times when you'll have to not be as involved. And so for me, I feel like every part of my life is an extension of me. Being a wife, I couldn't be me without being a wife. I couldn't be myself without being a mother. Being part of the pageant is an extension of me as well. And so I really do try as much as possible to be in the moment when I'm a mother, to be in the moment when I'm with my husband, to be in the moment when I'm in the pageant life, and to really focus on that and to give my 100%. But when that time is over, then I'm focused on the next aspects of my life. So
that's a great way.
It's a juggling. It's juggling, but it allows me to be fully who I am and to really. I keep calling it feeding my soul because that's part of what it is. Everything that I do really does, in a very selfish way, gives back to me. So even when I volunteer, I find that I get more out of the experience than I actually do in giving.
Yeah.
I also try to set
beautiful.
examples for my children as well. So I want them to see that you're not defined by one thing. So I'm not just a mother. I'm all these other things. And so you can choose what that means for you and what gives value to your life. But on any given day, I could have a big pile of laundry in my house, and that's not important to me today. But the next day it might be.
Exactly.
So there's no perfect rhyme or reason to it, but I think it's just more of a mentality of how can you have the most fulfilling life, and how can you do those things that fulfill you, and knowing that, you know, on any given day you'll be doing something a little bit different.
Wow. Well, thank you, and I will remember that. The work-life balance doesn't exist.
No, it
Just give 100% when you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
We've got to have you come back on
I would love to be back.
News.
This has been such a good conversation, and I really enjoy all the work that you're doing as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, we are going to cut to a brief PSA, and when we come back, you guys are going to get a chance to meet one of your New England authors. And her book, her current book, which is a part of a series, 100 Ways for 100 Days. We'll be right back.
Guys, tell me, kids, what does reading mean to you?
My name is Cofy. I'm from Richmond, California, which is the Bay Area, Northern California. I'm here as a college student at Berklee College of Music here in Boston. My specialties primarily is African percussion. I play drum set, I play congas, junjuns, and djembe of the Malian Drum Orchestra. You can contact me directly at my phone number, which is 857-261-6765. Or you can contact me on Facebook, which is my first and last name, which is Cofy, spelled K-O-F-I. My last name, Achimavu, spelled A-T-S-I-M, as in Mike, E-V-U. So here's a little sample of what I'm going to be doing for you guys later on today.
staying tuned to Boss Lady News. Make sure that you hit me up on any of my social media. Email me, bossladynews@gmail.com. Go to the website, bossladynews.webs.com. And now we're going to get a chance to meet Kadesh Simms. She is one of your New England authors. Why don't you come on out here? How are you? Oh, have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we are going to discuss this book in just a little bit. And this is 100 Ways, 100 Days, reflecting on creating a happy life. But before we get into this, are you originally from Boston?
So I was originally born in Jamaica.
Okay.
And I lived in Jamaica till I was about 11, and then I came here. And so I'd like to say I'm a Jamaican Bostonian because I haven't lived anywhere else in the United States. So Boston is, you know, my home city.
Nice.
Not my home country, but my home city.
Yes. And I like the way you said that. It's my home city, not my home country. Because I know a lot of Americans, a lot of Bostonians, they will say home, and they're actually meaning in another country.
Yes.
And it's so beautiful, I've got to say, honestly, to be able to represent another country at the same time as representing American. I've only got American, but it's okay.
It's good.
Hey, we got to start representing America. So coming here, were you afraid, or was there like a big change coming from Jamaica to America?
Yeah.
Because you're 11, so you know, pretty able to make decisions at that time.
Yeah, so I would say there was a huge culture shock. You know, I come from a country where everyone almost looks the same, everyone sounds the same, and then you come to Boston where there's just this migrant population, and you have all of these different people and different cultures. And so I think, you know, moving from Jamaica to Boston, it was just this culture shock, like, wow, I can't believe, one, that I'm in the United States, I'm in a completely different country.
Yeah.
And then two, you know, understanding and assimilating to the culture as a young person was very interesting. But I think one of the things that was most shocking to me when I got here was the amount of television that we have. So in Jamaica, at the time when I moved, there was like one channel and cartoons were on for maybe 1 hour a day in the afternoon. And I got here and it was Disney Channel 24 hours a day. So that was a culture shock in itself because I was used to being outside in an island, you know, running around, playing outside. And then when I got here, I'm like, Disney, yes, Nickelodeon, yes.
It's incredible that you do bring that up because there's the push, obviously, from the First Lady for people to get healthy, for kids to get active. And with so much television, it's very difficult for that to happen at all. And it's wonderful that in other countries, kids are still doing it.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like overseas, the athletes are so much more, they're just ready. They're just so much more prepared as opposed to here.
Yeah, the thing about the culture too in Jamaica, particularly with track and field, it's like you start when you're 3. You know, it's like, go run. That's the thing to do. Go outside and run. And it's like, so that's what you're doing. You're running around the house, you're running around the neighborhood. You know, neighborhoods are a lot smaller. They're very intimate. You know, whenever I go back home, because my grandmother is there, my mother is there as well. My parents retired there about 5 years ago. Whenever I go home, my grandmother, my mom, their thing to do every morning is to sit on the porch and just to talk about the same neighbors. Like, did you see Miss Darby? And it's like, yes, but Miss Darby was there 5 years ago. And it's like, oh, did you see the mailman? Like, yeah, grandma, it's nothing, you know, nothing new. But yeah, you know, being in an island setting is very, very different in that you do go outside and you do a lot more exploration.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I really love about myself, and that I'm grounded in that way anyway. So, you know, I do have my favorite shows that I love to watch, Boss Lady News being one.
Thank you.
And, but I do have, you know, a limited amount of television that I watch.
And that's good. People think I'm crazy. Like, I got Apple TV. I don't watch TV.
I do too.
Like, I don't really watch TV, but I do stream stuff. And, okay, so as a young person coming to America and seeing the culture change, did you find yourself wanting to really get involved with the education here.
Absolutely.
And did you see yourself being a writer at the time?
Yeah, you know, I didn't see myself being a writer at the time, but definitely saw myself being involved in education, which is what I do for a living.
Okay.
You know, I work with education and education policy and young people in the city of Boston. But when, you know, I got here, the education gap is very, very, you know, prevalent and obvious. You know, I got here and, you know, I would have friends that are like, oh, why don't you come to the mall with me? And I'm like, well, I can't even go outside because my parents were like school, library, home. Even if it was the library, you know, usually it's school, home, homework, read, bed, wake up, do it again, and then do it again over and over and over again.
That routine.
Yeah, so the culture of education was instilled. It was education or nothing, right? There was no option, right? There was no option in my household. So I think, you know, growing up as a young person here, I value that tremendously. I remember a time in a summer program that I went to called Balfour Academy at Northeastern. You know, my whole class had a strike about something that one of the teachers did. And they're like, oh, we're walking out on the class. And
I remember doing that.
I was like, I'm staying here. I was like the only person. I'm like, you walk out on a class? You disagree with the teacher. You know, in Jamaica, when you walk into a classroom, the first thing you say is, good morning, teacher. You know, the cultural pieces and the respect pieces about education, you know, were drastically different when I got here.
Wow.
And so that was definitely a learning curve for me, but it also instilled a sense of purpose in me, in my life and my value system about, you know, what I wanted to see for my community, the community that I was now a part of.
Yes. And jumping forward then to deciding to be an author.
Yeah.
Before we cut to this brief PSA, what clicked? What all of a sudden, like, I'm gonna write a book?
Yeah, you know, I have always loved to write poems or quotes, or whenever something made me feel good or, you know, made me think or be really introspective, I'm like, let me write that down. And after like 5 years, I had like all of these scrap pieces of paper that are like, oh, these are all the things you've written down. Then I would have folders that say writings on it. This is before blogging, before, you know, technology took over. And so there was always a piece of me that was drawn to writing and also sharing just the best pieces of, you know, being a decent person, what it meant to be a happy person, what it meant to be fulfilled in who you are. And that's how it started, you know, just a scrap piece of paper one day, and then it turned into a blog, and then eventually into this book.
Wow, that's incredible. And I like how you kept your writings. People have gotten away from even grabbing a pencil or a pen to write something down. Everything is, you know, it is all technology. And within that, you tend to sometimes lose yourself. You lose the art of your thoughts and what you're going to do with your thoughts.
Absolutely. And then it's really reflective, too. I have taken photos of things I've written in the past, and I look back and I'm like, wow, that was my 16-year-old self. That was my 20-year-old self.
Yes.
And you get to see a lot of growth in your own personal writing, and then you also get to see a little bit of testimony in your journey through your writing as well. So writing it down. I love the scripture, write the vision and make it plain, you know?
Write the vision and make it plain. I like that. Nice. Okay, we're going to cut to a brief PSA. And when we come back, we're going to maybe do some reading from the book.
Yes.
All right? We'll be right back.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
Dad's home!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Oh.
to let all the young people know that what got me started was reading. Hello everyone, thank you all for coming. I am very excited to be here running for this candidacy as the next President of the United States. I would first like to let all the young people know that what got me started was reading.
Thank you for staying tuned into Boss Lady News. We're here with Kadesh Simms, and she is one of your New England authors. And the book that we are talking about is 100 Ways, 100 Days. And we're going to be getting into the meat and potatoes of the book now. And as a Jamaican American, Kadesh has come to the U.S. and the instillment of education and respect from Jamaica has been brought here. And I've got to say, even just as a parent, there's not enough respect that is taught to the children at home, number one, especially on just the strict Black American side. And I will be the first probably to even admit that. Like, there's a difference between growing up as a Black American who's just been here kind of through the stuff and your family being like that, and other cultures who have a more rigid respect. You have to respect your elders and respect your teachers and respect education. So, you know, I am definitely one for making sure that my kids have manners, which is hard to do.
Yes.
But what I also like that you had said was how you wrote down a lot of your thoughts and a lot of the emotions, and all of those turned into pieces of paper, which turned into a blog, which turned into books. And I think for young people, it's good for them to hear that people do that, because so many kids keep everything bottled up inside, and sometimes just even writing it down will give them an opportunity to get it out.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely do share that with my own children. You know, my son, Adani, he's a brilliant writer already. Tells stories all day long. Whenever he starts telling me a story, I'm like, hey, I love that story, buddy. Why don't you write it down? You know, and he started his own little books. I can't wait till he starts to publish his own books, 'cause I know he has a gift there. But that gift of expression, you know, and appreciation. You know, my youngest son, Joshua, he loves to read. Like, he can't go to bed at night without a book. And that's just, you know, a part of a cultural instillment, you know. So there's a piece of me that's like, you know, if we were in Jamaica, it wouldn't happen this way. And they're like, Mom, you know, this is not Jamaica. And I'm like, I know it's not Jamaica, but you still have to, you know, respect what you have, you know, the opportunity that you have. You know, when you look across the globe, education is really a gift. There are children and people across the globe that fight hard to even get into a school.
Very true.
You know, and so whenever my kids, you know, might say something that seems like they're taking it for granted, I'm like, you know, you could be somewhere else where you don't have access to this beautiful gift. And it's a gift and it's a tool. I know that my education has been instrumental in you know, where I've been in my life, and without it, I know I wouldn't be where I am. So I always tell them that, like, you know, you think you're proud of Mom, you're proud of Mom's book, you're proud of Mom at college. Well, you know, Mom is at these places because I took education serious from a very early age.
Yes.
So it's really important to reinforce that. And not just reinforce that with your language, but model that with your lifestyle. You know, children learn by seeing what you do better than what you say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like, you know, the power of the media is so powerful, because like the television,
Absolutely.
the television's turned into the tablet or pad, and now even smaller, it's turned into their phones.
Absolutely.
You know, people are getting away from the physical contact of reading,
Yes.
which is so important. 100 Ways, 100 Days, Reflections on Creating a Happy Life, One Day at a Time. First, I love the cover. You know, the calendar, it just, it reiterates that you got to take things one day at a time.
Yes.
And so I definitely, I love the cover. And so we each have different pages that we love from the book. I've already gotten my book. You guys make sure you get out there and you get this book. And your day 4, which is beauty. So I'm going to let you go ahead and read beauty.
Awesome, thank you. So a little bit about the context of the book is that there are 100 days in here, and each day is titled a different word. And the words are all very reflective words. So, you know, when I started writing the book, I might walk by a flower and then had a very reflective moment about that flower, or read something in an article and then have a reflective moment about the article. And so a lot of what you'll find in the book are really reflective moments about how to be just whole and complete with yourself no matter where you are. So accepting that you are where you are at that time for a reason and for a purpose, and just existing in those moments and appreciating those moments no matter what they look like you know, at that time. So beauty is day 4, and it says, when was the last time you looked at a snowflake? How about a raindrop? No raindrop ever falls the same, nor do snowflakes ever look the same. Collectively, though, they create beautiful, natural landscapes of harmonic symphonies. I recently read an article that documented an informal sociological experiment. Artists from different countries were asked to Photoshop their impression of ideal beauty, each using the same image of one woman. While there were similarities between all the touch-ups, each was radically different, but they were different, beautiful pictures. They were interpretations of beauty and standards of beauty. Perhaps the statement, beauty in the eye of the beholder, isn't exactly right. You can find beauty in everything, and the most awe-inspiring sensations of beauty can appear randomly. Think about a sunset. Perhaps you've seen many beautiful ones, but they were beautiful in a different way. When we direct our mind to interpret what is beautiful, we generally bias beauty towards a particular standard. I bet those photoshopped images would have made for a startling collection if there were pictures of various people from those cultures and countries all over the world. It's not so much the scene that is beautiful, but it's the way the photographer frames the collection of items within his lens. So right where you are now, stop and observe. What is the beautiful ensemble you see? And the scripture I use is Song of Solomon. You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Just hearing the words are very beautiful. And I think it's interesting that the example you used were the pictures.
Yeah.
And how all these different images from one particular image were created.
Yes. It was profound when I read the article, because the one thing that no photographer did was left the image as it was. Each photographer added something, longer lashes, more makeup, longer hair, covering. You know, there were just various things that were added to make that image beautiful, and it depended on, you know, what part of the globe the photographer was drawing from. But for me, it's like, you know, we wake up beautiful in that there's internal beauty that we often don't recognize in ourselves. And we just focus so much on the external things that we neglect to see that when the sun rises, that's beautiful. Like when the sun sets, it's beautiful. The rose is beautiful. You're beautiful. The set is beautiful, you know, and really taking the time to appreciate all the beauty that's around us. And so I like to end a lot of the days with, you know, a little challenge, you know, like look around, like what do you see that's beautiful?
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that is important to do, because one of my most recent arguments with somebody was in reference to happy people make more money. And the reason that that is my own personal perspective is because the smiling, the energy, the happiness, it is all a part of receiving. Absolutely. So when you are happy and when you can smile and when you can see that silver lining, you are inviting energy, like this positive energy.
Absolutely.
And that energy also brings health, wealth, and happiness.
Yes.
So, you know, you've got so many people that walk around and all they see is ugliness. They see the lack of imperfection. And social media, for one, has been a huge force in making people self-conscious of their pictures, of what they write, of who they know, of how many friends they have, how many followers. That social media has taken beauty away from the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's really interesting when you think about happy people and, you know, like what is the true definition of happiness? You know, are we just constantly just trying to get to the next best thing, to find out that when you're at the next best thing, there's really no happiness in the next best thing.
Yeah.
And it's really just appreciating where you are and valuing what you have in that moment. And it was nice what you said about the receiving, you know, because in, you know, opening yourself up and you're receiving positivity through your happiness, you're also giving. You know, when you walk by someone and you smile, you have no idea how that might have impacted their day. You don't know what they're coming from or what they're going to.
Very true.
And the same thing with social media too. You know, I definitely believe that you can use social media for a greater good, and it's more about what I'm taking in from social media than it is, you know, what I'm giving to social media.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's 100 days in here, and a few of those other days are purpose, speak, character, care, flexibility, family. And the one that I was going to read is family. And we have to cut to a brief PSA, and we're going to have our performer come on. But for some of the other pages, make sure they get the book how.
So you can get the book at my website at www.happy100.me. Super easy. Think about happy 100 days and think about yourself.
That's right.
So www.happy100.me.
.me. Awesome. We're going to cut to a brief PSA and we will be back. And the day 28, which is family, I am going to read that to you all. And then you can also go to BossLady News page and you'll be able to get the page itself. But make sure you get the book, okay? We'll be right back.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
Thank you for staying tuned to BossLady News. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed Janelle Woods McNeish, Miss Massachusetts USA Universal, and also Kadesh Simms, the author of 100 Ways, 100 Days. And I hope you enjoy the New England Artist, which is going to take our last 5 minutes out of here. I wanted to actually still go ahead and read the 28th day, which is family. I thought you guys would enjoy this. So, today I had the chance to talk with one of my 5 brothers, Nathan. Growing up, each of them had their own distinct personality traits, ones you loved and ones you hated. Even now, there is still something comforting about hearing their voices. Family brings me back to moments of joy and, of course, the turbulent times when we had to pull together. Over the years, I've begun to realize that while my blood relatives are my family, I have other kin as well. Family is who and what you want it to be. I feel this sense of family in many ways, particularly hearing the voices of dear friends who've been by my side since childhood. Those people are family too. We cannot pick or choose our blood relations, and that is okay. However, we can find family in many places and different people. So pick up the phone and call a family member today. They may just be reminiscing on your fun times growing up together and waiting to be comforted by the sounds of your voice. I think that's just very powerful. You never know who considers you family, and then sometimes those people don't know that you consider them family. It's very true. You can't create your blood family. You just have them. You've got to respect them, and you've got to love them and be there for them, and sometimes you can't be there for them. But you do have what I like to call extended family. I know who you guys are out there, and I appreciate those people, and I consider you guys family too. So let the important people in your life know that they are important to you, and don't just send them a text message, which I have a bad habit of doing. I apologize. Give them a call and say hi. All right, that was the end of the show, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm going to let the last 5-minute performer go ahead and take it away.
independence wasn't allowed. Only good for cooking and cleaning up the house. Only known for being a housewife wearing gowns. Went from dependent to the most independent girl around. You're disciplined with your diligence, I respect that. Equal rights for the sexes, we all accept that. Random guys with her number, she might expect that. But if he's not on this grind, she might reject that. It takes a boss to date a boss lady. Got what it take to date a boss, baby. Yeah.